And I feel like we should chug our last little.
Cheers. Cheers.
I love you.
I love you.
Bitch.
Sorry, guys. I got a little too excited. It's like I don't chug things very often.
She's a mother, for
You know
Christ's
what I mean?
sake.
It's been a while since I've been asked to chug. Or I asked myself, technically, but...
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Mess with Jess. I am so excited to be here, and even more excited because I have a very, very special guest with me today, Miss Melanie Pfirrman.
Hello.
Hi, Mel.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you here because, mainly, when I first had the idea for this podcast, I knew that it was going to be really important to start off with someone that was going to carry out the message that I want to carry out with this podcast, which is life, like the mess of life. And I feel like you and I not only have gone through some messy times together, but we've come out of them also. And our story is one of my favorite ones to tell. So I thought, why not tell it for everybody
it's an
else?
honor for me. Wow. To
course.
be one of the first.
So for those who may not already know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself. No.
Nobody knows who I am. I'm a newbie. My name is Melanie Pfirrman. I am a artist, songwriter based in LA.
Perfect. And one of the most talented vocalists I know and have ever sang with, ever.
Coming from you, that means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. So I want to take it back because I feel like that is the most important place to start. So tell me about your childhood. Was singing always something that you knew you wanted to do, and how did your journey start with that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, from my earliest memories, I have always wanted to be a singer. I grew up in a very musical household. You know that. My parents were both super into music. My mom was also a singer back in the 80s, and that's kind of how she met my dad. He was also a producer, like making those like crazy 80s beats. They somehow met at a nightclub and started doing music together. And the rest of it is history. They got together, they had a couple kids, and me and both my sister, Mia, she's 4 years younger than me. She also sings incredible.
Crazy
She's
talented.
freaking nuts. So yeah, it's very musical. Even before that, my grandfather was also like a jazz musician. So I think it's just always been like in my blood
In your
to
blood,
do this.
yeah.
And there's really never been a question about it. It's just always been the thing for me.
Well, what a blessing.
Yes,
What a
absolutely.
blessing. I feel like that's something that you and I always connected on, is that we both like always were so sure, I think, like as young people, that was what we wanted to do and something that we were passionate about. So I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that's why it was kind of hard, like even just like going through school as like a just normal kid, because I'm like, there's so much more that I want to do. Like I couldn't stand school. Like I didn't like doing like the schoolwork aspect of it, because I'm like, I know for a fact I'm not going to need any of this.
I'm not gonna do this shit.
Okay, I just want to
I went to school to be social. Like that's what school was for me, was to be social. And I always felt like I could have been a good student, like had I really tried, but like I just didn't want to. So I can relate with that.
It would have been nice to have a dream implanted in my brain of like being a surgeon, because that would mean money.
I know.
But here we are.
I know. Hey, that's what we always say about my daughter. We always joke. We're like, everyone's like, she's going to be an artist. She has two artistic parents. And we're like, we're hoping that she'll be a lawyer or a doctor, perhaps, you know?
Absolutely. Dream big, baby.
Because we know how hard it is. And it is extremely tough.
It's not for the weak.
No, it's not. So being one of three sisters, I feel like that has to just be an experience like in itself. And I've always said myself, I have one brother. I've always wanted a sister, but like imagining having sisters has always been like, honestly, like a fantasy of mine. Like it just sounds so fun. And obviously I know you guys and I see you guys and it always looks like so much fun.
Yes.
Was that the case? Like, especially when you were younger, like growing up, knowing what you wanted to do, having two sisters, having a sister that also had the same passion, like what was that like for you?
Yeah, well, growing up, I mean, my older sister and I were very close. We're only 2 years apart, so...
And you guys have the same birthday.
Same exact birthday,
which is
2 years
crazy.
apart. Nuts. I don't know how my parents orchestrated that, but...
I think it's so cool, though.
It's the coolest thing. It's
you
like
have
a
a
cool
birthday
little quirk.
twin for life.
Exactly. Which I love now, but as a kid, I was like, I want my own birthday party. This sucks. But no, we were very close, like, I mean, two peas in a pod. And we were, you know, closer in age, so it was easy for us to kind of
Bond,
relate in a lot of ways, especially growing up. And then, you know, Mia came, and, you know, her and my older sister are 6 years apart. So there's a bit of a gap there. And so it was kind of sad when we look back now, because, I mean, when me and Melissa, my older sister, were, you know, starting high school and doing our makeup and figuring out, you know,
Becoming
boys,
women.
Mia was still, like, outside playing tetherball. She was like, come play with me. And we were like, I'm doing my makeup right now. Like, don't
We're
bother
too
me.
cool for you.
We're too cool. So that was always kind of a bummer, but it was cool because, you know, when I think it kind of happened, I mean, Mia and I, we butt heads a lot, and I think it's because we're very alike, and because we both have the same dream and the same, you know, we've always supported each other in that way, but we also fought a lot.
Of course,
She's also a Gemini, and I'm a Leo, and just...
Shout out Gemini.
I mean, I do get along really well with Geminis. I do, but, you know, we can also butt heads at times because we're very similar, I feel.
Yes.
So that was kind of a struggle for a little while. She's very strong-willed, strong-headed, you know her.
Yes.
So that was kind of a struggle for a little while, but like after college and after Citrus, she and I really started to bond as she started to like become a woman, you know, and we got to like share a lot of those things together. Finally, like
Some of the same experiences.
Yeah, the fact that we both love to sing and we were singing at the same shows now, and we're getting paired together to sing together. And, you know, we formed like a really beautiful friendship from that, and now the three of us are like inseparable. They're like, I mean, two built-in best friends.
Yeah.
It's like the best thing
Awesome.
in the world. And I get to share clothes with them and steal whatever I want, whenever I want. So
Perks.
That's always fun. Exactly.
I always love the idea of having sisters, but I can also see like where that could be tough at times. I have a brother, and like he's my brother, so like we don't like fight over like we're not like jealous of things with each other, like because we are so in our own worlds, you know, that are both awesome but just very different. And so I could see how that could be. But I think that's awesome, especially now, like seeing that you guys have really, I mean, you guys are like thick as thieves, and I think that that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
I remember, and this is like a good little segue into like how I want to introduce our story. The first time that I remember seeing you was a video of you and Mia singing, and I think it was at like a football game or something.
National anthem.
And it was the national anthem. And that's honestly, like, I think that's the first time that I saw you, the first time that I knew who you were. And I remember we had a mutual friend who I think you did cheer with, who was like one of my like really good childhood friends at the time. And I remember her being like, there's this girl, like Melanie, like we're on cheer together, and she's a really good singer. She's like really, really good. And I remember being like, oh, okay, yeah, like cool. And she's like, and so I think she was the one who showed me the video. And I remember being like, oh fuck, like she's really good. Like I think when she told me you were good, I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. But like when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, like she's really good. And like Mia's really good. And it was like such an amazing performance, especially for
that video was so funny because like we just watched it recently, and Mia is literally sitting there with her arms crossed, like she's standing in front of the mic sound like this.
Is she really?
See?
I remember being so good and like so impressive. No, honestly, no. I remember being so impressive, and like, I mean, for like high schoolers, maybe middle schoolers, me, I'm not sure. Like it was.
Yeah, I think Mia was in middle school.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was so good. And I remember just being like, oh my God, like they're really, really good. And so what I find interesting, and it's not that it was this friend who did this, but I started hearing your name more and more because I was kind of like the singer, quote unquote, like at my school. Because for those who don't know, we grew up in the same city, but not the same schools, which I think is interesting, or not the same like elementary school. I mean, it was like elementary school.
Yeah, there were like 3 different elementary schools in the area. And
and so we were at different elementary schools, and I was honestly like I was always the one that was like singing at the talent shows at my school and the musicals at my school and whatever. And so I remember hearing about you as kind of like the singer at your school. And what I find so interesting about that is that like now being a 30-something-year-old woman and looking back at that, I'm like, how fucking cool is that? Like now when I think about it, I'm like, that's such a cool thing. Like 2 girls that are like in the same area, same age, that like know what they want to do and they're good at what they do. Like, what a beautiful thing. But at the time, it was like presented to me always. I just remember it being presented to me always in like a really catty way, always in like a, well, she sings too, and like, you know, she knows who you are too, and it was always
competition.
It was like immediate competition. It was like, I feel like you and I were kind of set up for failure in a weird way.
Yeah.
And it's like sad to say, because like I said, like looking back, I would never, if I knew of two girls that, like, I think that's just so cool. I don't know. And so when I look back on it, sometimes it's like, it makes me think that that is just so unfortunate, because had someone come to me and been like, there's this girl, she's really good, you should sing with her, or like, you should meet her, you guys should meet each other and you guys should work together. Like, that would have been such a more beautiful, helpful introduction to each other. And so I don't want to speak for you, but like, I know for me, I just thought of you as like an enemy, like right off the bat, because that's how it was presented to me. It was like, this girl can sing, you can too, but she's like probably a little better than you. And some other people were like, well, you're better than her. But it was just always this.
It fueled us in like a really ugly way.
In a really ugly way. And then you're listening to people say you're better. So then you get this ugly thing of like, oh, well, you know, she's not better than I am. Like, and then this is like the cherry on top of it. Whenever I think of this or tell this story, is you and I never met.
Ever.
And like for years, I mean, I want it, not without exaggerating, like whenever that was, which was probably like early high school, whatever, from that point to college, so like probably 4 or 5-ish years, I like didn't like you. But like I had never met you in person. I had never talked to you. And so I just think that's so interesting. But I would love to hear, like, that's how I was introduced. But like, I'm curious, like how you were introduced.
It's pretty similar. I mean, I knew who you were very early on because of, you know, what you said, that we were both like the singers from our schools. Like, you were not just like that girl Jessica, and like it was like Jessica Clark.
That's so funny.
And Melanie Pfirrman.
So weird.
Were immediately rivals, even though we had never met each other. I'd never even seen you sing in person. I'd only seen videos of you sing.
Same.
So it's just kind of crazy how that even ended up happening. But I mean, we've never even really talked about this. Like, even though we were like best friends for years.
Yes.
Which is so funny, because I was even thinking about it earlier before I got here. And I'll tell you exactly how it started for me. So where was it? I think you played Annie. What year was that?
Yeah.
You were Annie.
I was in 4th grade.
And it was at Temple City High School, correct?
It was like, so they had like the high school productions that were like with the high school kids that like seemed so old, and now I'm like they're like children that like you could audition for and be like the kids in the high school plays. But then they had like summer plays that were like junior plays. And that's what that was. It was like Annie Junior for like the young kids.
Yeah, I remember that. So as that was happening,
I do too. It was my claim to fame.
Yes, as that was happening, that's when like our childhood friend was like, you know, relaying these messages back and forth of like,
shout out childhood friend.
Thanks a lot, girl. None of it was true, so it was just like speculation. But anyway, so let's just back it up for me. Growing up, I was this little tan-skinned, brown-haired, brown eyes little girl who barely saw myself represented like in the media. I mean, all my favorite TV shows, the stars of these shows were blonde-haired, blue-eyed beauties who were talented, you know. And I just looked at these girls and I'm like, I'm never gonna be that. Like, I want to be that so bad. I want to be the star. Like, you know, Liz McGuire was the star, and she was like my idol. Miranda was her sidekick, but Miranda wasn't the star of the show. So I'm like, am I ever gonna get to be the star of the show? And it just started this like really deep like inner hatred that I didn't even know was growing so deep inside of me. And so fast forward to me figuring out that I want to do this forever and being like, how am I going to make that happen even though I don't see myself represented? I don't know. I'm dreaming big anyway, and I'm going to do the thing, whatever. We'll figure it out as we go.
Fuck yeah.
And then I see this girl who is blonde-haired, green-eyed beauty, can also sing down. And I'm like, she's everything that I want to be, that I'm not going to be. I was out here begging my mom to let me dye my hair blonde, and I wanted to wear color contacts. I mean, me and my older
And I
sister
literally was begging my mom to let me dye my hair black.
Me and my sister were like,
just side note,
we had every color contacts you could, and like we wouldn't go to school without them. Like, I mean, looking back, it's funny, but it's also really sad.
No,
and,
it
like,
is really sad.
I developed this like
It's
really
terrible.
deep hatred of myself.
It's terrible.
And so, yeah, in comes you, and you're everything I want to be. Not only. All it needed for me to hate you was just one comment, one thing that she doesn't like you.
One confirmation.
I was like, that's all I need. I already didn't like her because I'm jealous of her. It was truly this really deep rooted jealousy of you, and I didn't care if any of that shit was true that was being said.
Yeah.
I wanted to hate you.
Yeah.
And it felt good to hate you. Yeah. And I hate that, and I hope that...
No, but that's honest. Like, I appreciate you saying that, because that's the truth.
That's true. I hated you because I wanted to be you. I mean, isn't that always the issue, though, when it comes to these things? It's the very deep-rooted insecurity of yourself.
Yeah.
That's always what it comes down to. You know, it's never really the other person's fault. It's always something that's going on internally.
And, I mean, listen, like, I think, side note, all this taking away of our stuff, that time in general, like being a young girl, period, like whether you're a singer, whether like whatever the fuck you are, to me is arguably like the worst and like the hardest thing like in the world. Like someone asked me recently, they're like, if you could go back, like someone told you like you could go back and like redo things, just kill me.
I know.
Like I'd honestly, like I'd rather honestly, I think die tomorrow than like have to go back and relive, even if it was better, even if it was different, like whatever. It's just such a hard time. And so, like I said, sometimes it is sad to look back and think like that was such a hard time already. Yeah. So like the fact that it was like made harder for us, like to even know, I mean,
as little kids,
we even know each other. Like I didn't know you. I already didn't like you before I knew who you were. Which is so shitty.
It's so shitty.
And so I know that that's the case with you, and I appreciate you being honest because it is interesting, and it is something that like maybe we've joked about before or talked about, but like to really like unpack that and see like where the fuck that started and like how it started is so crazy. And I just can't help but think like, God, it would have been so awesome to like have it set up in a different way.
I know.
Because fast forward.
Yeah.
Just for everyone listening, because I know I'm not telling you anything new, is that, so yeah, we grew up same town, different schools, both young singers, and then fate brought us together.
Wait, hold on, let me just say.
Like, please,
from what you've already heard about how I felt about you, that didn't change, like, growing up. Like, I mean, maybe there was less of each other. There was, like, less of seeing you. I mean, you know, whatever. Yeah. But I felt like, and sorry to all my citrus people, I felt like the queen of the world at that school in that program.
You were. You were.
And then I turn the corner on audition day and I see that blonde-haired, green-eyed, pretty bitch that can sing. I was like, I wish you could, like, it was like a movie. It was like tunnel vision. It was like,
oh, God. Okay, well, it's funny that you say that because my experience was, we're just going to go back. Let's play ping pong in this bitch. My experience was, I remember, I think in high school, like, I did some of the citrus, again, they did plays, just like Temple City High School did. And so I did those. And I remember hearing everyone was, or I kept telling people, I'm going to go to citrus. And like, blah, blah, blah. And so I remember everyone being like, oh, there's this group, like it's called pop rock. And like, you know, you'd probably love it because they have pop rock, but then they also had like a choir, oh, I don't even remember what it was called. Citrus Singers?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It was like Brighter Side, but like, yeah.
Exactly. Oh, wow. You said Brighter Side and my head, went, yeah, like Brighter Side. Wow, that's a trip. Yeah. I haven't heard that word in like such a long time. It's so funny. So for anyone listening who doesn't know, the college that we went to has an amazing music program. Yeah, but they have like two different groups, or they probably have more than that. But like the two main groups that I heard about were Citrus Singers that are more like the choir program, and then there was this class called pop rock, and I remember everyone being like, oh my God, you'd be perfect for pop rock, like, because it's like, you know, pop songs, and basically it's that you get to perform in front of a band, like as a lead singer, and then there's background singers, and you learn how to do backgrounds and all that stuff. And that was way more like my speed and way more the direction that I wanted to go in. I was never like super into the whole choir thing. So I heard about it and I was like, oh my God, yeah, sounds great. And then I don't know how I heard, but I heard they're like, well, you know, like Melanie Pfirrman's in pop rock. And I was like, oh, great. Fuck. I was like, God damn it. Like this girl, like, because honest to God, I knew how amazing you were. And I'm not just saying that. Like I was just like, fuck, like this is going to, first of all, and here again, side note, I had never met you.
Ever.
Up until this point. So I'm like, okay, don't like this girl. She doesn't like me. She's way better than me as a singer. And I have to meet her now. And I have to like sing in front of her. And like, how crazy is that though, that I had not met you yet.
I know.
And I knew you since I was probably like 13, 14 years old.
Nuts.
So I do remember that. And, but I remember, like, it's just funny you saying your view was me coming in, and my view was like, this bitch can sing me under the fucking table like any day. No, but it's the truth, and anyone listening to this knows that. Okay, so y'all need to know that I know that. Okay, and I've come to terms with it, and it's fine. All right. But I'm just saying that was the thing, and and here's another experience, and I'm gonna let you. Let me finish, and then I'm gonna let you start. But there was another thing that I remember that a moment that sticks out to me is that I was new, and I was kind of like earning my way into the program, and like there's levels to that shit, right? So you have to you can't come in right at the top group. You got to kind of like work your way up. And so I came in at like the second level, and then I was trying like desperately to get up to the top level. And so I remember another situation where we were set up for failure is that I remember you were like assigned songs, right? Or like sometimes you're assigned. So I remember our teacher assigned me the song "Who's Lovin' You" by Michael Jackson or Jackson 5.
Hard ass,
which is the fucking hardest song ever sung.
I got PTSD a little bit when you said that.
It was the hardest song. And like I feel like I've always been pretty honest about my like capabilities. Like I can't fucking sing that song. Couldn't sing it then, can't sing it now. Like it's not right for me. Hard. It's a hard.
That was also like a 5-year-old boy singing that song before puberty.
It's just a hard fucking song. And I mean, I was coming in and singing. I don't remember.
You sang
Boogie Oogie.
You sang Earth Move, and you sang that down. I sang
Feel the Earth Move.
The best audition of the day, and our teacher made a note to say that to everyone, and I couldn't have been more upset.
See? Okay, so that's how you remember. Okay, what I remember is coming in and them being like, "You're gonna sing Who's Lovin' You," and I go home and listen to it, and I'm like. Like I can't sing this on the best fucking day of my life. I can't sing this, not in my range. There's no way.
Yeah.
So I come into class, I sing it, I fucking butcher it. Like I can't sing it.
I don't really remember hearing you sing it.
Oh my God. It was good because it was horrible. I don't even know if I really did because it was like I just couldn't. Like so I remember just really like struggling, and I probably looked like fuck I can't. So I remember our teacher, bless his heart, being like, you know what, Melanie, come in here.
That was rude.
I remember being like,
I had been singing it all year, so that was not fair.
Like, great
to do.
You can be humble all you want, but we all know that you can sing that song on your worst day, okay? And so I remember being like, fuck, like, we know she can sing it, okay? Like, we don't need her to demonstrate. Which
I do remember that.
Shame on him, okay?
I know.
Sorry, side note, we might cut that out later, but I'm just saying.
Maybe we won't.
Shame on him, okay? Because he knew what he was doing. And I just remember you came up and you were like, oh, me? Like, let me come up and sing it. And you did, and you fucking.
It felt good, Jess. I'm so sorry.
I know it did.
I was a bitch.
You don't have to apologize because I know it felt good. And
because of the history there.
After this conversation, I'm actually happy for you. Like, I kind of like want you to have that. I want you to have that. I do. I feel good about you having that moment because you sang the shit out of it. And I remember just sitting there and like sinking in my chair like this bitch is going to make it, so I never make that fucking group. So that's what I remember.
And then you made the group faster than anyone.
No,
like you only had like a semester of two.
No. But okay, so then I do make the group, and here's where it all turns around. And this is what I find so ironic, is that I make the group, and I remember. And side note, we had all those people before we knew each other, like putting shit in our ears. Yeah. Then we met each other. People were still putting shit in our ears. I mean,
I was trying to think, like, I can't remember us actually going up to each other and being like, I'm Jessica, I'm Melanie. Was there even a moment like that?
No.
There wasn't.
Not that I remember. No. I think we did the whole, like...
I remember you from...
I know you.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, welcome. It's good to see you.
It was no big deal, even though it's been festering in me for years.
Yes. Yeah. Because I don't remember, like, a huge, like, introduction either. Yeah. But I do remember just a lot of, like, I think word had spread that, like I probably told my friends that, like, I knew you and the whole situation. I'm sure you told yours. And so, like, then we were pinned against each other again. Yeah,
because then now we had people in our ears being like, you know.
And now people are actually seeing us interact with each other, which I think was probably entertaining for people. I think it's still entertaining for people, to be honest. Totally. And so... that added like a whole other layer. But what's funny is, and I guess this is where that teacher redeemed himself in some way, is that I remember him like approaching me and being like, I have this idea. I have this idea for a girl group. I think it would be really cool. I think that you, this other girl that we were in the class with, and Melanie would be really like, I think it'd be a really like amazing fit. And I remember being like, really? Like, but what's funny is I don't think I ever like shut it down. Yeah. Like I remember thinking like, actually, like that would be awesome, because there was no question of whether you were talented and that I wouldn't want to be in like a group with you. But I just knew all the shit behind it. And you and I had not addressed like any of it. So I remember being like, I mean, I'm interested, but like, I don't know how it's going to go, blah, 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 blah. And so I remember being like, I'll reach out to her. Like, I think it's just like, it's time. Like enough time is like passing. Like, I'll just reach out and like, hopefully we'll just squash it. And like, and I remember being like excited to do that, because I think deep down, even though obviously I had my own feeling, which really weren't my own feelings. I mean, I have to be honest, like they really weren't, because you never did anything to make me feel
back at you.
Like nothing ever. But I already had these built up feelings. So I remember kind of being excited to like actually approach you in a way. And like looking back, I probably should have done it in person, but at the time it was like, I'll Facebook message her. And so I remember sending you like a pretty lengthy Facebook message of just being
I wonder if we could go back and it's still there.
It's probably still there. We'll do it after.
Stay tuned.
We'll do it after the show. No, honestly, I remember being like, hey, like, I'm not sure if you know, but like there's this idea for us to be in a girl group, and I just want to address all this stuff. And I did. And I remember you responding and being like, I'm so glad. I like, honestly, I feel like I remember the words, like, I'm so glad you reached out to me, because I've been wanting to talk about this too. And we like squashed it, like in a Facebook message.
Yeah, that's funny.
Which is so crazy. Yeah, like so simple.
Yeah, you know? And with like all the insecurities I had, like it was funny because, like you said, like he approached me with the idea as well, and I remember like not immediately being like, oh God, no. I remember at first being like, and then being like, well, like she's really good and she's really pretty and she can dance and she can sing. Like this could be something, you know. So
I felt the same way.
Like selfishly, I wanted to be successful, and I was like, I could probably be successful with her because she's really good.
That's how I felt too.
Like for a second, I was able to like set those feelings aside and be like, let's just think bigger picture here.
Let's think longevity.
You know, I'm glad you hit me up, because I don't think I probably would have had the balls to do it. So I'm glad.
Yeah, no, I'm glad.
One thing about you, you always had the balls.
I mean, I like to think so. Thank you. I'll take that. I do remember sending it and just being like, it felt like a weight lifted in a way, because I was like, God, there's all this like shit. There's all this like stuff like in the atmosphere that like really doesn't need to be there. Yeah. So I remember it feeling just really good to like squash it. And I feel like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we squashed it. Yeah. Like that was like it. Like I remember like after that, it was like, we're good. Like I remember going,
so ridiculous.
I remember going back to him being like, we're good. She responded and like, let's do this thing.
But that's how you know that there really wasn't anything real.
Melanie, there wasn't anything. Like I can honestly tell you that from my perspective, like I blame it on everyone else.
Yep.
Like I'm sitting here like not
It's
taking
true.
much responsibility because I mean I take responsibility for being influenced.
Yes,
like,
but that wasn't our fault either.
Now I feel like I'd be like, all right, fuck you guys. Like, let me go talk to the person.
Mm-hmm.
But being a young, impressionable girl, I was very like influenced by what everyone was saying, and I was convinced that like you were awful. And then we finally got to work together. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember us having like our first little writing session in the office.
Oh, like
Citrus.
Shit like started flowing, and we were like,
that's good. Like,
and we wrote this song in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We're like, I think we have our first.
I think we have a thing here. And I remember it being just so easy and like, and I think that that's what's so beautiful about like how it continued, because after that it truly blossomed into like one of the best and like most authentic and like real friendships I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And like and the times that we were like, I feel like when I look back on it, I feel like you were truly like you were like a chapter of my life. And I don't mean to say that that chapter is not even over. It's just that like the time that we spent together in such a like close capacity, like doing what we loved, and like then we became, I'm jumping all over the place, but then we became like wedding singers. And so we were together like literally every week and like together 24/7, and truly like became one of like the best friendships I've ever had in my life. And when I look back on it, I have nothing but like beautiful things to say about that time. It's like, honestly, in some ways I look back and I'm like, obviously there were things that like weren't that great because it was, but everything to do with you and us and our friendship was like, I cherish those memories.
Great. And I think maybe, you know, all the shit that we went through prior to that, like kind of helped us shape that beautiful friendship. And especially, you know, getting to actually hang out for the first time and like actually get to know each other and realizing we have like all the same favorite songs, favorite artists, favorite movies. We quote the same shit that nobody else even knows. Like, how funny is that we spent most of our lives hating each other when we could have been like this,
like
you know,
for
like
much longer.
we were the same person.
I know,
literally.
And I think in a really weird, twisted way, that's why it was easy for people to pin us against each other, because it's almost like you were fucking awesome, I was fucking awesome, and no one could handle like both of us being awesome.
That's
so
true.
it was like, let's just like make them hate each other, and maybe it'll just like cancel them out because
everyone's like,
hate
there can
each
only
other.
be one, you know. Why?
Which is so silly. And then what's funny is then once we did become best friends and like inseparable, then it was like, I don't think I heard my name without yours attached to it.
It was always Jess
then
and
it was
Mel,
like Jess
Mel
and
and
Mel.
Jess.
Oh, Jess and Mel are coming. Oh, Mel and Jess are going to be there. It was always like, it was like that. And that was, to me, when I look back on it, that's such a beautiful, like I feel like we won. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And then obviously things happened, and like we've maybe we don't hang out as much, or like our lives have gone in slightly different directions. But I have such a deep like love and appreciation for you. I really, really do. And I hope you know that, like, honestly, and it's this is like therapy for me, because it really is, because I think for the people who know us that are watching this, and honestly, I'll be honest, that's partly why I wanted to have you on, is because, again, I think people deep down have always kind of rooted against us. And there's like, I just have this, I've always, I mean, you know me, I've always been like this. I just want to say like a big fuck you to everyone who has ever wanted that or thought that, because that's so not how I feel about you. I love you. I'm so proud of you. And you to this day are like one of the most, if not the most talented person like that I've ever come in like contact with in person.
Stop it.
Honestly, I'm so proud of you. And I think that you've had you talk about me having balls. I think you have fucking balls, like, like going after what you want, like in such a passionate way. And like, there's never a moment where I look at you or I see what you're doing and I don't have anything but like amazing, beautiful things that I think about you. No, I know I'm on the verge. I'm like trying to keep up that.
But I feel the same. I love you so much. And I think, you know, even looking back, regardless of all the shit that happened, you know, why we stopped being friends, we even talked about this. Like there was always love. There was always so much love, even through the shit. Like like at the root of everything was just like I loved you so much, and I still do. And I root for you. And I was so like, you have no idea. Like when I found out you were pregnant, like that was like so exciting because that was something that we talked about all the time. That you were like, I just want to I can't wait to have a family. I'm gonna cry. It's just cool to see us living our dreams separately, you know, but
I agree.
Still getting to like share moments like this and talk about it now after the fact and like celebrate each other in our like, you know, different endeavors. It's just like a really beautiful thing. And I'm grateful that you asked me to do this. And I was honestly scared. I was really hesitant and nervous at how this was going to go.
So was I.
I'm really glad that we did this.
And I think that like, it's funny because as much as we like evolve and like get past shit, and as much as I know you love me, and I know I love you, but there's always going to be that like little girl in me that's that's like questioning it, you know. And I even remember like thinking like, well, what if she doesn't want to come on? Like she might be like, fuck that, I'm not going on her, you know. Even though that's not even like that's not like a real thing. That's just that's been ingrained, which is so sad. And that's my main reason for wanting to talk about it is like, fuck that. Like I literally want to say to anyone listening to this, like, there's nothing more beautiful to me, honestly, and more pure than female friendship. And when two strong, talented females are pitted against each other, I think it's like the most ugly, horrible thing in the world. And so I'm just really proud of us that, like, regardless of whatever has come our way, like, and whether we're as close as we were or not or whatever, I think we've overcome, and I think that we've come out the other side like better for it. And so I look back on our story, and even though it's unfortunate in some areas, I'm grateful for it because I think it made me stronger. I think it made you. I think it made me a better friend, and I think it probably made you a better friend too.
Absolutely.
And so I'm really grateful for it, and I love you.
I love you too. Now let's cry. Damn it! I almost made it. I almost.
Cheers to that. We're going to take a little sip.
Or a big gulp.
A big ass gulp. Okay, so my first random question for you is, what is your most embarrassing moment? You can, now it could be on stage. Like part of me was like, what was your most embarrassing, like have you had an embarrassing moment on stage? Or off, doesn't matter, or both.
I mean, I've had several moments on stage where I've like cracked pretty bad. I think I performed.
Well, I was not in attendance for any of them.
No, you weren't. I performed at, there was this venue called the Lucky Strike that we used to perform at a lot.
I feel like it sounds familiar.
Yeah, I got asked to sing with this band. They wanted me to sing Bang Bang, and I'm like, oh, I sing that all the time. I could sing that. And I was so confident with it too. I was like, yeah, and it just like didn't come out. I was like, humbled me very, very quickly, and I was like, brush it off. But that's like my most embarrassing. But aside from that, I don't know. I just feel like there are so many things that I feel embarrassed about throughout my day. That I'm like,
is there one that like
there
sticks
is one
out that you're like that was embarrassing?
You're involved.
I'm involved?
Yes, it had to be in Nashville when I got so fucked up and you had to bathe me, literally.
Oh, this is a story. Can we tell a story? I mean, we
let's tell it.
We don't have to tell the whole story.
Let's tell the whole story. Details.
Run it back. Okay, so yeah, we actually, fun fact, we were in that first girl group together that like brought us together, and then we were in another girl group together with a different third member called Madam Fierce, and we were badass.
We were pretty freaking fire.
I will like rep it all day long.
Stand by that.
We were amazing. Shout out Crystal, we love you. And I remember we went to Nashville, and it was like this really exciting thing of like, we're going to go to Nashville. And like, we had a manager at the time.
We're going to record our EP.
And we're going to go to Nashville and work with this producer who's worked with all these people, blah, 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 blah. And we were going to, and truly, we went to Nashville, stayed in like a beautiful house. I still think about that house. Like to this day, it was
went there. Did I tell you I went there after the fact? When I moved to Nashville, I ended up like having to meet someone who was a photographer that like was doing a job there, and I pulled up and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Shit!
And
like
it was at the house. On accident.
That's crazy.
I went to the house and I was like, "Holy shit, this is crazy!"
That's
back
crazy.
Here. Yes,
it was like one of the most beautiful houses I've ever seen, and we got to stay in it and got to record in it and have this like full circle awesome dream.
It's like a week, right?
It was like, it was like an artist's dream come true. And so we did that. But there was one night where we were like celebrating and we were drinking, and I don't even remember what we were taking shots of, but there were shots. It was Fireball. I think it was Fireball, which any shitty memory I have of me being drunk goes back to Fireball.
Always.
But I love the taste of it. That's the problem, is that I'm just a bitch with taking a shot of anything else.
That's true. It is very easy. That's why.
It's just easy. It tastes good, whatever. So yes.
This episode is brought to you by
Fireball.
Sponsored by Fireball.
So yeah, I remember us taking shots.
Yeah. Well, not just the double shots. They pulled out this shot glass that was like this big.
Double shots.
And I don't think it registered in my head that like this is actually 2, maybe 3 shots.
Right. And we were just like
chucking them back.
We felt like we were like untouchable. I remember very well. And then I remember like it happened so quick.
Yep.
Like I feel like I looked away and I looked back.
I was on the floor.
And you were like fucked up, like on the floor. And I remember like them even thinking like being confused because it happened so quick, but I think it's because we were just going so fast and like not thinking.
We probably didn't even eat that day. I mean, I was pretty tiny at this point.
Yes, same.
And
Same. And so I remember like you being really fucked up and us being like, oh fuck, like what are we gonna do? And yeah, I mean, like we don't have to tell much more. It's just that like fast forward, I remember like we were gonna shoot a music video the next day, which by the way, where the fuck is that music video? Because I remember being like so excited to see it, and we never got to see it. So
like with the horses, and
what
everything.
the fuck?
It was a
we
beautiful video.
were out in the ranch, like it was.
I love that song.
It was gorgeous. God, all of our songs were amazing. Anyways, reunions.
Yes. Yeah. You never know. But anywho, yeah, I remember. Yeah, you were a sweet angel because you knew that
I went into full fight or flight, bitch. I was like, we have a music.
Crystal was so mad, and you know what? Rightfully so. I think back on that. I remember at one point I was like mad that she was mad at me, but I look back on that now like as a full adult, and I'm like, you had every right to slap me in the face. I wish you would have, honestly.
She was upset,
and rightfully so. But you were like, I know that she's gonna be mad if she wakes up tomorrow. We had to start early too. She's gonna have dirty hair,
bright and early.
You knew that I wanted to be ready and cute, and so you straight up had me in the I remember coming to every once in a while and being like, where am I? And then passing out again.
Listen. Before you were in the shower, I had you over the toilet, and I stuck.
You did
these 2 fingers.
Listen, if that's
down Melanie Pfirrman's throat, I did.
If that's not true friendship, I
had your hair in one hand, and I had these fingers down your throat, and I literally helped you throw up. And I remember you threw up, and I was
name of one of your friends that would do that for you.
I was like, we gonna show up tomorrow, bitch. Like we're not gonna be late to this shit.
If you don't have a friend that is willing to stick their fingers down your throat to get you to vomit, get new friends.
It's true. And I have no regrets. I remember being like, we're going to get this shit done. And then I remember, feeling like I knew that you wanted to like have clean hair and like clean. So I literally, by the strength of God,
I don't know how you did it. Like full dead weight.
You were like, I mean, literally, you were tiny and still are, but like it was like you were like lifeless. And I remember being like, we're gonna get you in the shower.
And Crystal didn't help.
She didn't help. She was like, going to bed. She was like, fuck all y'all. Like y'all. We'll see how you do tomorrow because I'm gonna be ready and I'm gonna be sober, and we were not. I mean, I wasn't sober either, but
but you were better than me.
I was somehow I mustered up the strength, and I got you in the shower. And I remember I washed your hair, bitch.
You sure did.
I got in there with shampoo.
I woke up clean. I was like,
I conditioned. I conditioned your ends. I was like, those ends are going to be conditioned. And I bathed you. I do remember that. That wasn't, I mean, I can see how it was embarrassing, like in the moment, but
the next day that was embarrassing thinking, I mean, not you bathing me because like we'd seen each other naked, you know, we're best friends.
Yes.
But like just for everyone involved, like I didn't know these people.
I know.
We're in the studio with them and I'm trying to be professional and I was on the floor. They carried me to the room. They didn't care. That was embarrassing.
At the moment, it probably felt that way, but I don't think anybody cared.
Thank God.
That's a good one, though.
That was a good one.
Okay. My next question for you is, who is your dream collab?
Oh gosh,
and we'll say female and male.
Okay.
Artists.
Ooh, this is so hard.
Like if someone said like you can collab, someone came to you right now, they're like you can collab with any female artist.
You know what? Female is going to be hard for me because there are so many artists that I look up to and love so much. I mean, I think it's JoJo. I think it's always going to be JoJo for me.
I think it's the same for me. Literally, I think I have the same answer.
I think for both of us, she was like the blueprint of like, I mean, there were so many pop divas like Britney, Christina, all of them. Love them so much, but like it was JoJo. She was young and all that she, you
Her
know,
vibe,
achieved
just everything.
at such a young age, and her tone and just her ability, like, was just like so mind blowing to me.
Yep.
And still
And I think
is.
even the fact that, like, and this is kind of separate, but I know for me, when I look at her and I look at like her journey, I feel like I almost feel more pulled to her because of her journey, like because she had to deal with the shit she had to deal with, and because it wasn't like the easiest road.
Yep.
Like I feel like that almost makes her like more relatable.
Oh, absolutely.
In a way,
More of a badass that she like really pulled through, and now she's just like doing her. She was on Broadway recently. Like she's doing everything that she's set out
All
to
the
do.
things.
She follows me on TikTok.
Yes, she does. Yes,
It was like
she does.
when I tell you, and that's not only that.
amazing.
Like I did a cover of hers for Christmas like years ago, and she full blown like shared it on her story.
So awesome.
Commented on it, like, you better sing, girl. Like, she was just so kind and sweet. She didn't have to do that. She didn't have to acknowledge me at all. And most people don't. And I'm not going to name names, but most people don't. There's a lot of them that have seen my videos and don't care. But I'm not going to name names.
Go ahead, name them.
Kidding. Just kidding. But JoJo's that bitch. She's always been that bitch. And she always will be that bitch.
It's probably because she understands
She understands the struggle more than anybody.
Yeah.
God, and she's just so real and down to earth. I love her.
Yeah.
And male collabs, that's tough. But actually, after watching the Super Bowl, I was like, I would love to sing with Usher someday.
God,
and just like
it'd be so
his voice is so nostalgic for us. Like
his Super Bowl performance was like one of my favorites of all
it was one of the best.
time, if not my favorite. I thought
People
it
were
was.
talking smack about it, but I don't understand. I loved every.
We
single
were like up
second
on
of
our
it.
feet, like celebrating. I watched it like over and over again. It was one of my favorite ones.
Me
for
too.
Sure.
And his voice,
That's
yeah,
a good answer.
it's very nostalgic for us. Like growing up, I mean, all the hits,
yeah.
exactly. And just hearing like my boo, like with him and Alicia, like
Yeah.
I would just love to have a moment like that with Usher. That would just be.
I love that. Well, we're manifesting it now, Usher.
Usher.
If you're listening, I got a girl for you. Okay, biggest celebrity crush.
Who is it this month?
I think I know the answer.
Yeah. Well, one thing about me is I am a fangirl. Always have been.
Yeah.
Always have been.
Yeah.
But I do have like a different crush all the time. But I have a few. So the one that is recent because I met him and he was like,
I know who you're gonna say.
sexiest
I know who you're gonna say.
Charlie
Y'all
Hunnam.
look good
Charlie Hunnam.
together. Y'all look real damn good.
Remember? I mean, we watched SOA together.
Yes.
And it was a whole thing. In love with him then. In love with him now.
I saw him at the Met Gala, and I was literally gonna text you because someone said something. I don't remember. Now I'm not gonna remember, but he said something like, "Oh, my girl."
I know.
Like he said. He said something like, "My girl like told me blah 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 blah."
think
And I
he's
was thinking
engaged.
like, "Who's your girl?"
He's engaged.
Well, whatever.
But he is a
It won't
flirt.
last.
He's a flirt, and I think he does that with everyone he meets. Like he's really good at that, like making that one person feel really special when you're meeting them, and I love that so much. Like let me be Delulu and think that you love me.
It's good for the soul, you know.
But I think my overall one is Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. He's so hot.
He is so sexy in a way that I can't even describe. It's more than just physical for him. It's like
No, it's the whole
the
thing.
way that his co-stars are around him. Like he's like a safe place for women, especially, and in Hollywood, that's like a very rare thing, especially nowadays. So like just to see him interact with other people, like he just seems like such a down-to-earth, sweet, genuine, like big-hearted person, and that's I
and
think
he's
that's,
like gorgeous on top of it. So it's just like you're gorgeous and you're kind. It's like the whole package.
He's like going to be in so many movies coming.
I'm
up.
so excited for the next season of.
For him. I love this,
Last of Us.
and it's cool to hear. Like, I mean, obviously, I did like a deep dive on him, like when I first started like falling in love with him, and his journey is
You
crazy
have to
too.
do your
like,
research.
you gotta do your research about these people.
If you're gonna like marry him, you know, you gotta. Like,
gotta know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been through a lot, like in his journey of becoming an actor, and like I think that's why he's so down to earth, is because he understands the struggle more than most do. Like he struggled for a long time
He's
until
been around a long time.
Yes, but he got his start kind of. I mean, not really. He was doing like he was really young and in like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like really young. But then like he didn't get his like break until like Game of Thrones, which was like years later, and that's like a big gap where he was like struggling financially and just like being a waiter somewhere, like So
you don't hear
I
about
love
that a lot, but it's like that. I think that kind of adds to the sexiness of someone when they've like been through some shit and they've like conquered some shit.
Hot.
It's even hotter than it should be. Okay, if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
Teleportation. Because I hate
that's
flying so much.
Do you mean to when you said teleportation? I thought I don't know why I thought like time traveling, like you could like teleport. Like But I realize what you're saying is you just literally want to get from A to B.
I want to be like, I want to go home right now and just be home. Wouldn't that be so nice? Or like, I would love to be in Italy right now and just.
That's a good one.
You know?
You know, if I could have one superpower, it would be that I could eat anything I want. Anything I want. Not exercise a minute of my life and have literally like my dream body and just have it like and have it. Isn't it moving?
That's the most moving thing you've said all day.
And just have it like not change. Just like have your dream body, whatever you want your body to look like, and just run it up. You know what I mean?
I think that was, yeah.
Yeah, perfect health.
Yeah,
perfect health. Perfect body, perfect health. And like eat whatever the fuck you want and like lay on the couch as long as you want, bitch, because you're gonna look you look amazing.
One thing about us is we love to eat. Like I feel like that was one of the first things we bonded over was going to Taco Lita together.
Oh my god!
And destroying a
burrito, and then not over Taco Lita, but then Del Taco.
Del Taco became our thing, and then Taco Bell. We had like
all the tacos.
Orders.
Taco Lita, Del Taco, and Taco Bell were like literally how our friendship was forged. Honestly,
God,
and those are still.
We're gonna have tacos tonight for dinner.
Oh my god. Let's wrap this shit up. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, this is actually my last rapid fire question. This is a sentimental one. If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, you know what? It's funny that we're talking about being able to eat whatever we want and not gain weight, because what I would tell my younger self is to love yourself, love your body, love all your imperfections. I mean, I grew up in a very traditional Latin household. So one of those things, unfortunately, is you got to be skinny at all times. Like skinny equals pretty, skinny equals beautiful. There's no other option there. And so that was kind of, you know, something that really carried with me in my adult years. I think it started very young for me. And it's not I've had so many like moments of realizing that it's not my mom's fault for this, because it's a very generational thing. I mean, my mom, I remember being so mad at her for so many years, that like I developed this hatred for my body, for like just all my imperfections. And then I had this moment as an adult where I saw my mom like interacting with her mom, and her mom being like, your arms are looking a little flabby, you know, and being like, holy shit, like this is shit that we pass on for generations that has just gone back so far. And, you know, it's not her fault. Like that was to her, like that was love, like her telling me to care about my body and not eat that
like
food.
it was like tough love.
That was love for her, you know? And so just to go back to her and to my younger self and be like, you know, don't take that shit. So, you know, to heart, you are beautiful. Like the number on the scale means nothing. It is the least interesting thing about you, what you look like, what you weigh.
Amen.
It's so silly. And I'm still unpacking all of that as an adult. Like that shit doesn't go away. Like deep feeling of not being enough and not being pretty enough, skinny enough.
Right.
So that is, that's definitely one thing that I would go back and shake myself and be like,
don't you wish you could
you're pretty, bitch.
Don't you wish you could just like go back and like,
I do.
Knowing what you know now, it's always like kind of frustrating to think, God, if I knew that then. But I think that's
things would be
beautiful.
so different. I would like myself and I wouldn't be worried right now about what I look like.
Yeah, well, you don't need to be. So you look perfect. And like half the things that like half the things I notice about myself, like I know other people don't.
No way.
Like nobody gives a shit about that. It's like
so
we're like our own worst critic, because I look at other people and then I hear what they're insecure about and I'm like,
are you crazy?
Really? Because like I don't see that at all. Or like that's not the first or second thing I would notice.
It's
like
true.
About you, you know?
It's true, because I could look at someone who is, you know, say overweight or let's take like for example BB Rexa. She is like the most
She's so
beautiful, perfect. I could look at her and be like, don't change a fucking thing. You are absolutely perfect. But she talks about her struggle with her weight and she has PCOS and she talks about that. And I'm like, wouldn't that be so nice if I could see myself that way and like give myself the same grace?
The same grace, yep.
It doesn't make any sense, because I don't look at other women and think you're fat.
I know, me neither.
You got your arms. I'm only doing that to myself.
Yep.
So
and literally no one else is.
Nobody's thinking that.
I know.
So ain't that about a bitch?
Doesn't that fucking suck?
Women, huh?
Women, can't live with us. Can't live without us. All right. So, what is next for Melanie? Can you tell us about anything coming out soon or any special projects coming up or anything that you're going to be sharing with us?
Yes, absolutely. I have a lot of music that I am so excited to share. An album, my first
I'm so
album,
excited.
which is actually insane to even say out loud. Like,
I'm so excited.
I've been doing this for so long, and this is my first album. But I'm excited because there couldn't be a better collection of songs that, like, I'm so excited. I mean, I have a very deep love and, like, connection to all of the songs that I've released, but for some reason this new batch of music feels more me than anything I've ever released. It's like literal pieces of me in this album, and I could not be more excited.
I'm so excited.
I know, I can't wait for everyone to hear it, and we've got like all these really cool visuals planned. So
yay.
I'm
Okay,
really
well,
excited.
look out for that. Also, let everyone know like how they can find you, how they can keep up with you. What's the easiest way to follow up with what you're doing?
I am on all of the social media sites at Melanie Pfirrman, just my first and last name. Same for YouTube, same for Spotify. You could just find me, Melanie Pfirrman, Apple Music, all the places that you stream your music. That's it.
Yay. I want to say, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for doing this. Honestly, like I couldn't think of a better way to start this new journey for me, and I'm so appreciative of everyone listening. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, I love you so much. I feel like we should chug our last little cheers. I love you.
I love you.
Bitch. Sorry, guys. I got a little too excited. It's like I don't chug things very often.
She's a mother, for
You know
Christ's
what I mean?
sake.
It's been a while since I've been asked to chug, or I asked myself technically, but I don't chug things very often.
I can't chug either. Look at this.
Don't do it.
I can't do it.
Just don't do it.
We tried.
Don't be like me. I was like,
We're in our
fucking
30s now,
animal.
Jessica. Damn
Give
it.
me a hug. Another hug. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored. Of course. Thank you.
This is gonna be something. This is gonna be huge.
Thank
You were destined to have something like this.